In every interaction, whether at work, in social settings, or even within our families, there is an invisible force at play. Some people walk into a room and immediately capture attention, while others struggle to be noticed, no matter how much effort they put into their words. The difference rarely lies in intelligence or knowledge. Instead, it comes from presence, the ability to project confidence, authority, and calmness in a way that naturally draws people in. Presence is not about being the loudest or most charismatic person. It is about cultivating habits that signal strength and self-assurance, often in subtle ways that most people overlook. One of the most powerful habits is the purposeful pause in conversation. At first, silence can feel terrifying. From a young age, many of us are taught to fill every gap in dialogue, to avoid awkward silences, and to keep talking so people stay engaged. But this conditioning robs us of one of the simplest yet most effective tools of influence. When used intentionally, silence transforms into power. A pause tells others that you are not desperate to be heard, that you are confident enough to let your words breathe. It creates suspense, causing people to lean in and wait for what you will say next. It signals control, because only someone in command of themselves dares to stop, to wait, and to hold attention without fear. History is filled with leaders who understood this principle. Winston Churchill, known for his commanding speeches during World War II, often inserted deliberate pauses to emphasize his points. These pauses allowed the weight of his words to settle in the hearts of his listeners. Martin Luther King Jr., and whose voice carried a movement, did not rush through his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. Instead, he used silence as much as sound to give his vision room to echo in the minds of millions. Even in modern times, great communicators, from business leaders to teachers, rely on pauses to underscore their authority. They prove that silence, when mastered, becomes a language of its own. But presence is more than just pausing. It is also communicated through the body. Long before you say a word, your posture, gestures, and eye contact are telling a story. Standing tall with relaxed shoulders, keeping your chin level, and meeting the gaze of those around you signal confidence far more effectively than hurried words ever could. Small changes in body language can shift how people perceive you. Crossed arms and restless fidgeting communicate insecurity, while open gestures and stillness suggest authority. Pair these signals with purposeful pauses, and you create a magnetic effect. People begin to sense that you are not chasing their attention. Instead, attention naturally flows toward you. The challenge is that most of us live in a rushed, noisy world. We are used to speaking quickly, scrolling endlessly, and racing through life. That is why slowing down feels so unusual, and why it is so effective. When you deliberately pause, you break the rhythm people expect. You create contrast, and the human brain is wired to notice contrast. Silence against noise, calmness against chaos, composure against haste. These differences are what make people take notice. In a culture addicted to speed, the one who can slow down gains power. This skill, however, is not reserved for a select few. It is not a natural gift handed to leaders at birth. It is a learnable, practicable habit that anyone can develop. Start with something simple. Before answering the next question you are asked, take a breath, count to 2 silently, and then respond. That tiny pause changes everything. Your answer feels more considered. Your voice carries more authority. The person listening pays closer attention. From there, expand the practice. The next time you make an important point in a meeting or a conversation, let it linger. Do not rush to explain further. Allow the silence to do the work for you. At first, it will feel uncomfortable, but with repetition, it will become second nature. As you practice, something deeper begins to shift. Not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. You begin to realize that you do not need to prove yourself through speed or constant talking. You recognize that your words matter enough to deserve space. This recognition strengthens your internal confidence, the kind that does not depend on external validation. And that is the real secret of presence. It starts from within. When you carry yourself with calm assurance, others cannot help but notice. The path to presence is not about learning to dominate others. It is about learning to master yourself. Pausing gives you control over your words. Strong body language gives you control over your image. Together, they form a foundation of presence that allows your authentic self to shine without fear or pretense. Over time, these small habits accumulate into something remarkable. If the first step to building presence is mastering silence and body language, the second step is learning how to align your inner confidence with your outer expression. Presence is not just about how people perceive you, it is about how you perceive yourself. Too often people rely on external validation to feel worthy. They believe respect must be earned only when others notice them. But the truth is reversed. Respect from others begins when you respect yourself enough to carry your words, your body, and your energy with intention. Real presence is not a performance. It is authenticity delivered with clarity. One of the most overlooked truths in communication is that people are not paying as much attention to us as we think. Psychologists call this the spotlight effect, the tendency to overestimate how much others notice our mistakes, flaws, or nervousness. In reality, most people are too busy thinking about themselves to scrutinize every detail about you. This realization is liberating. It means that you have more freedom than you think to experiment, to pause, to practice new habits without fear of judgment. Others will not remember the little stumbles, but they will remember the moments when your presence made them feel seen and valued. This is why the purposeful pause is so effective. It does not only influence how others view you, it changes how you experience yourself in the moment. Instead of rushing out of fear, you choose to slow down out of confidence. Instead of reacting instantly, you respond with thoughtfulness. That shift in mindset transforms anxiety into control. Over time, the habit of pausing trains your brain to stay calm under pressure, whether in high-stakes meetings, job interviews, or even personal conversations. The pause becomes your anchor, a reminder that you are in control of your timing, your message, and your energy. Alongside pauses, there is another principle that amplifies presence: intentional simplicity. Many people believe that to sound intelligent, they must use complex words or long explanations. But research shows the opposite. The most respected speakers and leaders communicate clearly, directly, and simply. When combined with well-placed pauses, simplicity becomes a superpower. Your message cuts through the noise. Your words become memorable because they are easy to grasp, and the silence surrounding them makes them echo longer in the minds of listeners. Another aspect of presence is consistency. You cannot command attention one day and appear insecure the next. Presence is built by showing up with steadiness. This does not mean you never feel nervous or unsure. It means you practice habits of composure until they become your default. Each time you pause, each time you stand tall, each time you slow your speech instead of rushing, you reinforce your presence. Over months and years, these small choices accumulate into a reputation. People come to see you as trustworthy, confident, and in control. That reputation opens doors often more than skills alone. But let us be clear, presence is not about manipulation. It is not about pretending to be someone else to gain attention. In fact, the most magnetic presence comes from authenticity. Carl Jung spoke of the persona, the mask we wear to fit into society. Donald Winnicott described the false self, created to meet expectations rather than express our truth. Living too long behind these masks creates emptiness, because deep down we know the person being admired is not the real us. Presence in its truest form is the opposite of pretending. It is the courage to show up as yourself, calm, confident, and authentic, while using tools like pauses and body language to let that self shine more clearly. The journey to presence also requires patience. At first, the pause feels awkward. Eye contact feels intimidating. Standing tall feels forced. But every skill feels unnatural in the beginning. Just as athletes practice drills until movements become automatic, you can practice presence until it becomes effortless. Over time, silence no longer feels like a gap to be filled, but a tool to be used. Eye contact becomes less of a challenge and more of a bridge to connect with others. What once felt like effort eventually feels like freedom. Imagine the impact this transformation could have. In your career, colleagues begin to trust your judgment more, not only because of what you say, but because of how you carry yourself. In relationships, people feel calmer and more valued around you, because your presence communicates safety and strength. Even in moments of conflict, you can de-escalate situations simply by refusing to rush or lose composure. Presence is influence, and influence shapes outcomes in every part of life.